Hey, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about the male loneliness epidemic. It seems that a huge portion of the society, well, males and females, seem to be single and not having any interest, they say, in being with the opposite sex, yada yada. Dating is just horrible. The online dating has destroyed it. And today I want to talk about the male half of this, the male loneliness epidemic that apparently seems to be plaguing the country. I guess I could maybe just offer my advice. I'm a little bit older. I'm 45. I'm going to be 46 here pretty soon. I was completely black-pilled about relationships for a couple of years there. I was doing the MGTOW thing almost. I just didn't care. I just didn't care anymore. I didn't want to be in a relationship. I thought it wasn't worth it, And then I met my lady. It was fluke. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time kind of thing. So I could tell you guys all the cliche crap about don't give up on hope. And, there's always hope and there's always someone out there for you. But I'm going to be the nihilist here and tell you that there probably isn't. I'm sorry to tell you that. The reality is this, is that only throughout history, 40% of the males have ever reproduced anyways. Most men were cannon fodder. Okay, we were sacrificed in war, disease. I mean, you name it. Construction accidents. Like 40% of the population has only ever reproduced, ever. So if you're one of the guys that don't have any kids, don't feel too bad, right? And if you're one of the population that wants kids, though, don't feel bad either. I think it's completely normal to want to feel that need to reproduce. It's in our DNA. I like I said, I was completely black-pilled towards relationships, and I felt like nothing really mattered, and like I just felt super lonely, and I had really nobody to talk to. So people go to the internet to talk to them, and now you've got lonely people that are running to AI to get a relationship from software. And I had ChatGPT on my phone for a little while there, and I was talking to it and having conversations and stuff, and I just thought I could see very easily how people would be fooled by this, especially if they're extremely lonely, and next thing you know, they've got a best friend that's available 24/7. When you really start thinking about this, about people going to AI for relationships, you realize we're cooked. I don't know if people understand how bad it is in society if people are going to their phones and treating software, an app, like it was a real person. Is this how bad it's gotten out there? I mean, to me personally, like I said, I met my lady. We've been together almost 10 years now. We've got a daughter. I got the family life, and my life is so much more fulfilling than it was just making money and being someone who traveled around the United States going to tattoo conventions. Having a family means so much more to me. I could care less about because I'll do whatever job is out there to provide for my family at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter. It's about being needed by somebody. That is such a big thing. And when you have all these people that don't have relationships and they aren't needed by anybody, they don't have hardly any family, or they live thousands of miles away, it gets really lonely. And I can see why self-deletion is through the roof too as well. I have a fear that if we keep going this direction, if we can't regain the plot, so to speak, and figure it out what it means to be human, to have connections, to be friends with someone, an actual friendship, to give somebody the shirt off your back, to have a family that needs you, you provide for them. If we don't get back to that, then we're done as a society. We're cooked. It's just a fact. I mean, we're not even reproducing enough to keep our population at the same. So we're going to be losing population precipitously over the next 20 to 40 years because people didn't have as many kids after the boomers. We can't even sustain our own population. See, this is why I'm totally against liberalism. It's because every tenet that liberalism stands for is essentially a I can't even say it, self-deletion sort of thought process, I guess you could say. Every ideation about it ends up in self-deletion. Got a helicopter flying, hold on. I mean, every tenet about the liberalism mentality is all about not reproducing. It's I can't say the word on here obviously because they don't like that word on here. Starts with an S, ends with an I'd. I think you guys know what word I'm trying to say here. But I mean, let's think about this, right? Like the climate change basically typically comes more from the schools and universities that are primarily left-leaning, okay? And they're the ones pushing the climate change. Most of that's coming from the left. We can agree on that. And the whole process, or the whole thought process behind that is that we are the problem. We're polluting the planet, and the climate's going to change so rapidly, it's so horrible that we're not going to even be able to live here, and we caused it, us people, the population. So you hear a lot of these younger kids being told this day in and day out in all of their schools and classes, and it turns into a anxiety for these kids. And so now they grow up to adults and they don't want to have kids of their own because they think they're polluting just by having kids. I mean, it's a really, I don't know how draconic, like, brainwashing when you think about it. You know, it's like people do not want to see this plant, like humans continue on. It's almost like nature good, humans bad, and that's the whole mentality behind it. You know, let's take the whole transgenderism. You know, what are they promoting? That you literally cut all your reproductive junk off and try to reshape it into something else, or however the surgery's done, right? Like I have a general concept of how they perform that surgery, and it sounds absolutely horrific to me. You know, and then at the end result, you are a permanent hamster wheel of meds and treatments and constant for the rest of your life. I was reading somewhere one time that the average one transgender person from beginning counseling to end stage, when they finally transition, bottom surgery and everything, you're looking at something like $7 million generated for the pharmaceutical industry. You got to think of it like that. These people are just numbers to them. They don't care. Our pharmaceutical industry is basically okay with practicing horrific things on people and experimenting and being like, oh, well, I guess we didn't know better. And it's really disgusting when you really look at the history of, like, even today, look at what they're doing. You know, it's like they test out a few nasty, horrific things on people. Like, let's take lobotomies. And they had no clue what they were doing. They just had a guess. They thought that's what it did. And it basically anesthetized you to the point to where you were a complete zombie. It's like, and we were just experimenting. We didn't know. We're just, well, we think this is going to happen kind of thing. I mean, you know, and it's like, so everything with that, transgenderism, is all about cutting off your bloodline, literally, okay? And then you've got anything that has to do with that, being gay, same thing. Not that it's a choice, I get it, but why is there people that have come out and reverted back to being straight, and, like, how does that work then? Right? And yes, that happens. So if it can happen, then, you know, maybe it's something else, right? Maybe it is something that you can choose or not choose. I don't know. I'm not pretending to know anything about that. All I know is that when you're gay, you don't have kids. It's that simple. What else? I think overall, everything about their financial, you know, programs and stuff that they push, the left pushes, I feel like a lot of what they want to spend money on these programs don't benefit anybody. And, you know, I don't know. It's like they're promoting a certain type, like a dysfunctional family, and they're not promoting functional families. I feel like you get paid more on like Section 8 and food stamps if you're just a single mom than you would if you were married with tax breaks. I don't know, someone could correct me in the comments on that if they want, but I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of useless, you know, and a lot of guys are kind of also seeing the nonsense in that too as well. And I think that a lot of the laws that have passed in the last 50 years concerning divorce and alimony and child support and all that have really benefited the woman and really have been a detriment to man. And I feel that a lot of men are finally starting to wake up and see that. Like in my situation, my parents were married until I was like 13. They finally got divorced, and my mom ended up with the house, and my dad had to basically pay for it, right? And still to this day, she has a huge house out, typical boomer mentality, 10-bedroom house with 10 acres. It's just her and her boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's like she could downsize and probably retire and live the rest of her life and be comfortable. She just retired, but like, yeah, typical boomer mentality. You guys have no idea. My parents were boomers through and through. But yeah, they were married, got divorced. My mom ended up with all the assets, but she understands money a little better than my dad. So to be fair, she did better with it than my dad would have done. But it is what it is. It's the whole fact of the matter, and I've seen it happen time and time again where people get married, have kids, families, all that, and then the wife ends up with everything. And sometimes she strategically marries just to get, half of the mansion, and so, I had a hard time believing in the love concept for a while there too. I was very black-pilled towards relationships. That's because I had seen it firsthand what happens, and I had buddies that had lost everything and were basically living in their car while their wife was living in their house that they bought together. But now I'm doing the exact same thing that I said I would never do. Got married, had a kid. Well, I'm not married yet, but in a relationship. So when I was black-pilled, I can identify with a lot of men, how they feel about relationships. And I can see it only getting worse since that was 10 years ago when I felt that way. I can only see the online dating getting worse. I heard now there's a prescription or a subscription model where you have to pay, like, for the men it's like 150 just to even have the privilege of messaging. See, I don't know any of these, and I haven't been online on that in a long time. So, like, again, if I'm wrong about that, that's why. I have no idea how OnlyFans works, but like that shit seems to have ruined a lot of kids. I'm sorry, but they don't understand. Like, men do not want a woman that has shown herself online like that. It's about having dignity and the sanctity, and when these girls nowadays, it's like we've set up a society where women can't even make a living unless they're showing pictures of themselves online. It's vaguely familiar to Weimar Germany when you read stories about how society was in Weimar Germany before Mustache Man comes into power. You read about how the hyperinflation and how the sex workers, that it was it was the largest industry at that time. And I mean, does it kind of seem a little similar now? Like, it seems like women nowadays, that's like the largest industry for a reason. There's no way for anybody to make a living out here, especially for women. It's probably even harder. So, increasingly lower pay jobs, people get desperate. This is the society that they've created through printing money. And now it's kind of run its course, and now nobody's even having children because it's just too expensive. Have you guys ever heard of the Ouroboros? It's a picture of a snake that's eating its own tail. It's kind of how I feel about the rich right now. It seems like their own greed is going to eat them alive. That's just what I see happening. Even when they get AI into the picture, that they're not even going to think past the stage of, hey, well, we need people to be buying our products, or we're just going to have to give it out for free. Because, I mean, nobody has a job to buy anything when AI takes all their jobs. Again, it's the snake eating its own tail. It's how should I say, self-deletion. It's, everything in this society is aiming towards self-deletion. This is why I believe we're in the end times. Everything is just weird things are, really doing not well right now, like the loneliness, like we're talking about, which leads to no relationships, which leads to no kids, which leads to worse and worse living conditions on top of money being printed to oblivion. So you're combining all these things together, and if you keep going this direction, we're going to end up in a hellscape of a society. And so, yeah, I just feel extremely grateful to be where I'm at, being in a relationship with a kid. But at the same time, I don't know what to tell my kid about her future. You know what? I don't know. I'm hoping the next generation just decides to put the cell phone down once and for all. Because the internet's going to get really weird with all this AI stuff too. So it's almost going to be completely untrustworthy. But I doubt that's going to happen. I think what the elite want for us, I think they want us to merge with AI and become droid-like. Now it's transgenderism. In 20 years from now, it'll be transhumanism. And I'll leave you guys with that thought today on July 5th, Saturday, 2025. Have a good day.